Today we're going to discuss cellular respiration. Please make sure you have your notes in front of you and a pencil to take notes. Please also make sure you have your headphones on and are listening to this audio as well. First, we have to ask ourselves, what is cellular respiration? Well, it's the process where organisms convert chemical energy from food into ATP. And ATP is the energy we depend on for life. And so up here in the right-hand corner, you can see that cellular respiration is the process where we take glucose and we turn it into ATP. Here we're going to look at a molecule of ATP. ATP stands for adenosine triphosphate. And the reason it's called triphosphate with a T is because tri means three, and notice there are three phosphate groups. There's also ADP, which is adenosine diphosphate. How many phosphate groups do you think adenosine diphosphate might have? So what is cellular respiration? It is the process by which organisms exchange gases between their cells and the environment. Let's look at this great picture here on the left-hand side. Our lungs are responsible for the exchanging of gases within our body. When we breathe in, we take in O2, or oxygen gas. That gas is carried by our red blood cells to the organs and tissues around our bodies. Our organs and tissues produce a waste product. That waste product is called carbon dioxide. This carbon dioxide is carried by our red blood cells back to our lungs, where we exhale or breathe out carbon dioxide. This is the process of exchanging gases, intaking oxygen and exhaling or getting rid of carbon dioxide. So this is the process where we break down glucose. Remember, we know glucose is a sugar because it ends in OSE. And we break down this sugar in the first step of cellular respiration through a process called glycolysis. If you remember, lysis means to cut or to break. So literally, glycolysis means the cutting or breaking of glucose molecules. And this is the first step of cellular respiration. Here we can see glycolysis. In glycolysis, we put glucose in, and we have to put in ATP and NAD+, and through the process of glycolysis, we get 2-pyruvate. We have doubled the amount of ATP we have, and we now have 2-NADH. And these other molecules, besides glucose and ATP, you will not be responsible for knowing much about them. You just need to know that glycolysis requires and produces more than just ATP. So who does cellular respiration? Well, this is a really easy question to answer because all organisms, all living things, all biotic factors undergo cellular respiration. This includes bacteria and eukaryotes, fungi, plants, animals, all of it. All living things undergo cellular respiration. And you might be asking yourself, well, oh my goodness, how do these different organisms breathe? Well, I kind of like this picture. Spiders have these things called book lungs, which are in their lower part of their body. Chickens have lungs much like us. Caterpillars have these holes in the side that help with the exchange of their gases. And you should hopefully know that fish have gills, which help them extract the oxygen from water. And this is how cellular respiration occurs. Even plants do cellular respiration. Plants also need to take in oxygen for this cellular respiration process. So we have two types of cellular respiration. The first is anaerobic respiration. Anaerobic respiration happens after glycolysis, and there is no oxygen needed. So no oxygen is needed in anaerobic respiration. In anaerobic respiration, the input or reactant is glucose. Please make sure you write glucose underneath the molecule C6H12O6 on your paper. This is a glucose molecule. Anaerobic respiration produces only 2 molecules of ATP for every 1 molecule of glucose. So it's not very efficient. Not very much ATP is created for the body to use in anaerobic respiration. Remember, anaerobic respiration means there's no oxygen. The other products that happen at the end of anaerobic respiration, sometimes also called fermentation, depend on the organism. So fermentation and anaerobic respiration are sometimes synonyms. In humans, fermentation or anaerobic respiration, and in some bacteria and fungi, this produces something called lactic acid. This is the reason that your muscles burn when you run. When you are running, not enough oxygen is getting to your muscles. And so to try to keep up with the energy demand, your body with a lack of oxygen is undergoing anaerobic respiration. And this anaerobic respiration means that your body is not producing as much energy or ATP as it would like to, and that causes your muscles to burn. As a result of lactic acid fermentation, we produce many different foods like sauerkraut, kimchi, soy sauce, certain types of cheeses, and yogurts. In plants and some fungi like yeast, the product of fermentation or anaerobic respiration is ethanol. And ethanol gas is an important gas that we use in our everyday lives. As a result of ethanol fermentation, we can also produce other alcohols and other types of fuel. So this is how alcohol is created. Where does anaerobic respiration happen? Well, anaerobic respiration happens in the cytoplasm. This includes glycolysis and fermentation. So as a reminder, anaerobic respiration was when no oxygen was present. But since we live on Earth, we often undergo aerobic respiration. And aerobic respiration also happens after glycolysis, but it occurs when oxygen is present. In aerobic respiration, we have two reactants or inputs. They are glucose and oxygen. Oxygen is now able to be one of our reactants because remember, aerobic respiration allows for oxygen to be present. The products of aerobic respiration become carbon dioxide, water, and energy. Remember, that energy is vitally important. So let's talk about what this means. Aerobic respiration produces 36 molecules of ATP per single molecule of glucose. This is significantly more efficient than anaerobic respiration, so more energy is created in aerobic respiration. There are 3 steps of aerobic respiration. After glycolysis occurs, these 3 steps are 1. The Lynx reaction, 2. The Krebs cycle or citric acid cycle, 3. Electron transport chain, or oxidative phosphorylation. It is important that you're familiar with these terms. However, in this class, we will not discuss how these processes happen in depth. Last but not least, where does this process of aerobic respiration happens? Well, in the powerhouse of the cell, of course. It happens in the mitochondria. Remember, the first step of aerobic respiration, or glycolysis, always happens in the cytoplasm of the cell. But the second step, where we have aerobic respiration, occurs in the mitochondria. Now that we've talked through these notes, you should understand what cellular respiration is. You should also understand the differences between anaerobic and aerobic respiration.